We're thrilled to have Micha Star Liberty here this morning as our plenary speaker headlining this conference. Micha is a very beautiful and brilliant lawyer on her own, right?
True.
She is a wonderful author. She writes for CEB. She speaks all over. She does fabulous classes, and we are very honored to have her here this morning and tomorrow morning and to talk about client communications. So without further ado, Micha Star Liberty. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Heather. Good morning, everyone. Oh, no, come on. It's not that early anymore. Let's get some enthusiasm, some excitement. Y'all are here. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Makes me feel a lot better. So thank you all for being patient. I'm so impressed to see these types of numbers for this conference. This conference is near and dear to my heart. I've always been really passionate about CLEs geared towards new attorneys, because when I started practicing, I would go to CLE conferences 2-3 days long and understand maybe 10%. And that 10% I would write down. I would always get a nugget or two of information that I could carry with me, but so much of it was above my head because I just didn't know how to be a lawyer yet. I was just learning. So I'm very interactive, and if you guys have questions, just raise your hand. Anything is, even though it's being recorded, anything you want to ask, I'm happy to talk about. I really view this session as not just a welcome to the conference, but a welcome to the law. How many people in here have just taken the bar? Hands up high. All right. Okay, good. So we're talking July. That was just this. February. Okay. Anybody a July taker? Nice. All right. Welcome. It's awesome. Now that you're lawyers. Well, you haven't gotten your results. When you pass, it will be awesome. How many folks are 0 to 2 years? Okay. 2 to 5. Anybody that's not a speaker been practicing more than 5 years? Okay. Good number. All right, fantastic. That helps me. So we had lots of technical issues this morning. We had to move the podium, and we had PowerPoint issues and computer issues, and the first slide of my PowerPoint was corrupted. But I think it's hilarious the way it turned out, because isn't that how we feel? You pass the bar, now welcome to the law, now what, right? There's so many emotions, and you're trying to navigate these waters. It's not easy. I do want to create kind of a safe space this morning to talk about issues that new lawyers are confronted with. So we're going to just kind of go through some of the basics. I've been in practice since 2001, and I've had my own firm since 2005. You'll hear me say this probably 10 times this morning, but I view it as my obligation to hire and train law students and new lawyers. That's part of what I think we need to do for this profession. I try to bring in women and people of color because what's important to me, that's just my personal perspective, but what's important to me is showing that there's a model out there. We can all do this. The bar is the great equalizer. Once you pass, you should have the opportunity to fulfill your dreams, as trite as that sounds. Anyway, so y'all have taken the bar a while ago now at Old Hat, take a break. I think it's really important to to approach the bar and the law in a holistic way. So that means taking care of you, not just after you take the bar, after you finish a trial, after you get that summary judgment opposition out the door. Make sure you're taking time for yourself, because you will burn out. Anybody know the statistics about folks leaving the law after 3 years? They're not great, right? What about after 5 years? 10 years? I mean, we have a natural attrition rate, and I think that's because people don't know what they're getting into when they first go to law school, and then they get out into the practice, and it's a little bit different than they thought. Because who feels law school prepared them to be a lawyer? Right. Not a single hand went up. We should, again, you're going to hear my personal perspective. I would love to see law school be 2 years of class education and a year of in-the-field practice, right? You are so much better off. The law students that I bring in, and I try and do 3-4 a year, they all, after they take the bar, say that performance exam was a piece of cake because I did that for you. I understood what I needed to do because I had the practice and the experience. Wouldn't it be great if everyone could take the bar with that kind of perspective? All right. Visit your mom. Whatever. How many people have jobs? How many people like their jobs? If your boss is in the room, put your hand down. How many people would like to transition into a different practice area or maybe work for a different firm? And so what are some of the things that you think you should be doing when you're looking for a job as a new lawyer? How in this economy do you differentiate yourself? I want ideas. Anyone? Okay, well, all you people who just raised your hand better have some ideas. Go ahead.
Just get new skills and network.
Networking is great. We're going to be talking about networking tomorrow in the marketing, but it permeates everything we do. Because who here is in sales? Wrong, all of you. All of you are in sales. And selling yourself, selling your skills, packaging yourself, and branding yourself helps with networking. So yeah, absolutely. What are other things? Oh, there's that annoying little slideshow, resume slideshow. Just ignore that. Block that out up there on the PowerPoint. What are other things that folks should be doing when you're looking for a job as a new lawyer? How about going to CLE conferences and networking and meeting people? How do you get new skills? Give me some ideas.
Well, attending things like this. I mean, this was ideal because it assumes you know nothing about that area, and I think it's fabulous.
Yep.
Say volunteer.
Fantastic, and we're going to talk a little bit about pro bono a little later on. And why would you want to volunteer? And in what type of group or association, what type of volunteer work would you want to do?
Something that puts you in front of clients and that will, enable you to get a little supervision, but at the same time be able to make mistakes without having to sweat it too much, like you mentioned, pro bono.
Yeah. And doing it in a safe space, I heard you say, right? Doing it where, I used to have a boss and a mentor, and he would hand me a case, and he would say, just do it. See what happens. Feel free, this is what the quote, feel free to kick over the paint can because you're in the garage. Mess it up. And it was a great way to practice. I also had a lot of other cases where if I made a single mistake, it would not be, you kicked the paint can over in the garage. I think, and what I try to do, especially when people are trying to switch practice areas, is have informational interviews. I sit down and I'll talk to anyone. You'll learn that about me over the next 2 days. But I think it's important, talk to people that you think do what you think you might want to do. Just go out there, look on various bar association websites, through your networking, find out. Say, hey, I think I'm interested in doing political compliance. Well, that's a very strange niche area of the law. So look and see who does that and just ask them for their time. Part of what we do, we're a profession, we're not a trade. So part of what we do is helping each other out, making ourselves available to answer questions. Take advantage of that and don't be shy. Just ask people, hey, what do you think? What do you think about this? I do my own, when I'm getting ready for trial, I do my own focus groups wherever I am, the grocery store, the dry cleaner. Hey, what do you think about this? I have this auto case, it's a little Columbo-esque, but I just stop people and talk to them because I think people are fascinating, but they have a wealth of information. So take advantage of folks out in the community and people who aren't in the community. Let me just make a comment about resumes and cover letters. You all are professionals, and I'm sure none of you do this, but I get a lot of resumes, particularly in this economy, across my desk. And if there are instructions about how to apply for a job, follow those instructions. Take a minute and Google the person. I have a funny name, but I get a lot of Dear Mr. Liberty. And so that goes into the delete file immediately, because you have to have, as an attorney, and particularly as a new attorney, you have to have an attention to detail. And you have to take the extra step to really differentiate yourself. And make sure cover letters are tailored. We can tell, when you read a lot of these, you can tell when they're kind of you cut and paste and you've taken them from other cover letters. If the job is important, make sure you take the time to look for it. All right, then go out there, do an awesome interview and get that job. And if anyone, if we talk about anything today, this morning, or tomorrow morning, or even this afternoon in the client communication session, and you guys have questions about it, but you don't feel comfortable asking in front of the group, just approach me. I'm happy to talk about any of these, because the way I look at it, almost every single one of these slides in my PowerPoint could be its own hour-long talk. So I'm really just kind of highlighting for you guys. So if anything, lights you up and you're excited about it and you want to know more, feel free to ask me. All right, professional development. What do you guys think you need to do when you first start out? How do you become a professional? You've got this bar number, which is astronomically high at this point. What do you do? How do you become a lawyer? How do you go from law student to lawyer? Anybody have ideas? What did you all do? Those who've been out 5+ years, what did you do? Come on, people. Nobody? Yes.
Find a mentor.
Fantastic. We're going to be talking about mentoring. Absolutely. That is one of the most important things you can do. And I was thrilled this morning. I heard you all talking about mentoring earlier, and you were essentially saying the same thing, which is find a mentor. And we're going to talk a lot about that in a couple of minutes. Anything else? Yep.
Get involved with local legal organizations. Put yourself on boards or.
It's like you guys wrote my PowerPoint for me. Absolutely. And why is that important?
It helps build your network. It's easier to find mentors, and then you just kind of are part of that community, and people know who you are.
So this is kind of an aside, I was on the State Bar Board of Governors for 3 years, and one of the things that the bar people like to say is lawyers who are involved in professional associations stay out of the discipline system. Now, being who I am, everything becomes a deposition eventually with me, So I went back to the Office of Chief Trial Counsel and I said, I want to see that data. I want to know if that's really true. And of course, they would show me data that proved this and data that proved that. And we didn't come across any data that actually showed that. But I still think it's a good idea. And I think it's true because you start to run in the professional circles and in the circles of people who care enough about their job, because it's not just a job to them, and about how they treat their clients and how judges perceive them and how their colleagues perceive them, that they're involved in a professional organization. I think it really lifts everyone up. Anything else? Any other ways to develop professionally? Yep.
Just accept that you know nothing and just do what you're told.
I'm so glad I didn't have to break that news to you all. Absolutely. You all know that, right? Like you do know that once you pass the bar and you become a lawyer, you actually don't know how to be a lawyer. Am I freaking anyone out? Okay. Law schools don't teach you anything. They teach you how to think. Sorry. They teach you how to think like a lawyer. And that's worth the cost of admission? I don't know, with prices going up for law school, but that's the skill they teach you. And it's amazing, and it's fantastic. And law professors get into your brain, and they do a little maneuvering, and you come out a different person, hopefully for the better. But you don't know actually how to practice law. Like I said, I wish there was a little bit more of a trade school element to it, so we did have some skills on day one. When I hire people from a file clerk to an assistant to a law clerk to an attorney, I tell them always, I don't expect you to know the answer. So when I ask you a question or I give you an assignment, I'm not expecting you to intuitively know what the answer is. What I expect is that you know how to find the answer. And that's what law school has given you, the tools to find the answer. I don't know why I put this photo in. I just loved it. When I was in law, I guess it was kind of like you're setting up the 1-2 punch. You're setting up the knockout with putting in the time and doing excellent. That's actually work. Doing excellent typo-proof PowerPoints. When I was in law school, I found it to be a little stressful. Anybody else have a little stress in law school? So I actually took up amateur boxing. And was a licensed amateur boxer in law school, and I fought in the Golden Gloves. I came in second. There was just one other person in my but it really helped me. And having kind of a sport that I did throughout law school helped me think of the law as a match, a challenge, a competition. And the only way to get ahead when you're just starting is to work harder. That's just it. You're not going to have the poise, you're not going to have the gravitas, you're not going to have the wealth of knowledge that your 30-plus year practicing attorney opposing counsel has when they walk into the courtroom. So I hear a lot these days about work-life balance. And every time I interview someone, I write that down. And then I try and engage with them in a conversation about what does that mean to you, because people are really freaked out about the 2250 billables and how hard it is and how much you give up to be a lawyer. I have more news for you, not just that law school didn't teach you anything, but being a lawyer is hard, and it takes dedication and it takes a lot of work. It is, I think, to me, the most rewarding career choice I can imagine. I think it's fantastic. It gives me joy. I'm excited to get up every morning. I'm excited to help my clients. I'm excited to help them through a process that's been difficult for them and to bear witness to someone's life changing because of some way that I'm helping them. But it's hard, right? How many people are working 8 hours a day? 10? 12, 15. Okay, y'all need a break. The cameraman just raised his hand. Bless your heart. So there's no substitution for putting in the time. You have to. And you can't, when you get a new assignment, let your inexperience and your lack of knowledge paralyze you. One of the first assignments I got as an attorney, I think I had been out, well, first of all, I second chaired a trial within six weeks of starting my first job, which was awesome. We lost. I love trials. And when people talk, does anybody do trial work? When people talk about trials and, oh, I'm excited to try this case, and you go to mediation and the other side's like, no, if you don't take this over, I'm going to try it. And I think that's fantastic. I love that passion, but you haven't had your teeth kicked in enough. If you are still excited about trial, because it's very risky, right? Those of you who know? No, everyone's just staring. Okay. When I first started practicing, so after that trial, very shortly after, I was given a summary judgment opposition to do. And it freaked me out. I still have a little PTSD. I had no idea what a summary judgment motion was I had developed a block. And for my first 3 or 4 years, every time I got an MSJ across my desk, there was just this block. It was hard for me. Does anyone have any certain assignments, tasks that they do that are really challenging for them? No? Awesome, I should hire all of you. You can come in and write my summary judgment motions. Have any of you been given an assignment and you didn't even understand what the person was asking you to do? What'd you do?
I researched it.
And then?
I asked questions.
And then?
I'm still working on it.
And it was only assigned 7 months ago. No, I'm just kidding.
Last week.
Good. And did you feel, what did you do? I mean, part of what we need to do is just kind of push through the fear, right? So were you scared? It's okay, we're just recording it for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, he's asking me to research something and I had never even heard of it before.
Anyone else have that experience? Ever? Yeah? What did you do, Leah?
I feel like I ask a lot of questions. Well, there's a period of time where I just sit on it for a while and kind of let it marinate until it gets to a point where it's like, no, nothing will happen with this unless I do it because it's on my shoulders. So I have to go and ask as many questions as I can and sort of be willing to look like an idiot until it's done.
Right. I love the willingness to look like an idiot. Come sit down. Come in. Let me entice you. There's spots up front. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, there's a couple of seats up here, some in here, a couple in there. Yeah, you kind of have to get over the ego, right? And it's not, you don't know. No one expects you to know. If you're working somewhere where they expect you to know, then you need to have a dialogue with that person. When I first started practicing, I worked for 4 attorneys. I was the only associate and the only female who wasn't a secretary. And my bosses, bless their heart, just didn't quite know what to do with me. Does she go to this depot for me, or does she get me coffee? I don't really know. I mean, they were old school. They still are very old school. And they would say to me, I can't believe how little you know.